What is good, everybody? Saints defense versus the Bears offense. The Bears ran all over the Saints, had like 220 plus rushing yards, 5.5 yards per carry, or something ridiculous like that. And listen, throughout the season, the Saints' run defense, it hasn't been good per se, but it's definitely been serviceable. They've allowed some explosive runs, but for the most part, they've done a good enough job, right? It's really the pass defense that has gotten them in trouble. Well, this game, it was reverse. The pass defense was actually pretty good, probably their best game of the season. They completely shut down the passing attack of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, but the run defense was horrendous. Horrendous. So let's go over some of the film on how the Bears ran all over the Saints. Alrighty, first play here. Bears get a ton of yards on the ground. Just a zone run to the right. It all comes down to gap integrity, gap responsibility. You can see this is on a 2nd down and 12, actually, which is unacceptable to give up, right? This is normally a passing down, but the Bears decide to run it. As a defense, you have to make them pay for running it on 2nd and 12. You can't just give them this many yards, right? And with the Bears, they're going to run this little pre-snap motion here, pre-snap, and they're going to get the defense to have to move a gap over. And if you look at the responsibility here on, run fit wise, when these guys bump over, it looks to be like Chase Young has the edge, Demario has this B gap. We'd have Godshaw here, Pete in this A gap, Brian Bresee, B. And then over here, we would have the safety. I believe it's Justin Reed in the C gap. And then Granderson would probably be the one setting the edge, right? And so what you're going to get is Godshaw just gets completely washed from the time the ball is snapped, right? I mean, as soon as that ball is snapped, watch that right guard. Immediately reaches Godshaw, and now he is immediately not in his gap where he is supposed to be, right? And you can see when these guys zone run to the right and everything is moving to the right, all the gaps are moving to the right. Well, now, since we were beat immediately at the snap, look at the hole we have to run through, right? Look at that. And it just sets up everything perfectly for the running back to have a clear shot. And so if you look at everybody else here, I mean, Chase Young comes flying off the edge here. He tries to get to it, can't quite get to it. So he's, doing his job well. Demario, his responsibility is this gap. He has to stay in his gap. This is his gap. But the problem is now, because Godshaw got beat so badly, you now have two guys in one gap. Really, if you see this, if Demario sees this, you'd like to see him maybe scrape over the top once he sees Godshaw get beat. But again, like, this is Demario's gap that he is responsible for, right here. So you can't really fault him for scraping over the top, but Godshaw just gets beat cleanly, and that opens up that huge gap. I mean, everybody else, Pete Werner, let's look at him, right? Where is his gap? Again, when we bump over, it's right here in the A gap. If you watch him, he's actually able to stay in it, right? He has to be on the outside of this center right here. Right here is his gap, and he does his job. Right, so you may look at this and like, what is Pete Werner doing? Well, he's doing his job. He's holding gap integrity. Now, he has to be able to get off this block and make a tackle here down the field, but still, right? Everybody else, Granderson, everybody else does a decent enough job. But when one guy up front, the defensive lineman, gets beat so quickly off the snap, it just creates a large hole for everybody. And you got the center doing a nice job on Bresee, helping the right guard, then climbing to the second level. And then the running back is just then going to be off to the races. So, again, what you'd like to see to clean this up, maybe in play, Demario recognized Godshaw gets beat off the snap, and maybe they can gap exchange because now Godshaw is in Demario's gap. Well, maybe let's see Demario fly over here over the top and get across this offensive lineman into this area and replace where Godshaw was supposed to be. Next one here, 3rd down and 17. As you can see, this is on the Quincy Riley interception. This is such a nice play from the rookie in a game where not a ton of bright spots, right, for everybody. But the Bears are going to come out again, 3rd down, got this trip set 3-by-1 to the field. And it looks to be that the Saints are playing a cover 6. So you're going to have cover 2 to this side, and then you're going to have cover 4 to this side, right? Meaning they're going to play quarters coverage up top with these two DBs right here. And essentially what you get is these guys reading the releases of the receivers on their side. So Quincy Riley here he is. He's just going to be reading this thing all the way through, right? Snap of the ball. Okay, now we have a new number 1 and a new number 2 because of that little motion. Now Quincy Riley is just going to have eyes on, I believe it's DJ Moore, right? All the way through right here. If he goes vertical, he's going to take him in man-to-man coverage, essentially. He's going to match him in man. But watch how quickly he breaks this thing. So where's this receiver getting to his break? Right there, he starts to slow up and get it out to his break. Well, guess what? Quincy Riley matches that perfectly. Look at this. Same time. They pretty much break on it at the same time. This ball, it's not a terribly Caleb Williams actually throws it with some anticipation. The ball is already out, right? And so for Quincy Riley to see this break on it and get there in time, boom. That is a beautiful play from Quincy Riley, and a guy that, didn't play so well last week in the game before this, but really bounced back this week and had a nice game overall, especially here with this interception, reading this thing off this quarter's coverage. So nice job by the Rook there, and, one of the few bright spots of the day. Next one here, this is a 3rd down and 2 that the Bears end up running the ball and converting, getting a nice amount of yards on, right? And it's just a version of counter here. They're going to line up a tight end at the fullback position, and then they're also going to pull around another tight end there at the snap 85. And really, if you look at this thing pre-snap, so when we get a guy in motion, only Pete Werner bumps over. So I'm not really sure what we're doing there, because when only Pete Werner bumps over, that actually leaves a huge gap right here, right? Nobody is accounting for this gap, and really the running back could have cut this thing up if he wanted to, but he's just really following his blockers like he's taught to do. So that's, irrelevant here. But when you do this, so it looks like Granderson here is going to be, it looks to me, at least by the way he plays it, like this is his gap that he's going to be responsible for. You see he puts his hat in that gap right there. So that tells me that Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to be playing the edge and really become the new defensive end here. And the Saints are trying to use a box technique to defend this run. So watch what Kool-Aid does. He's going to attack the outside shoulder of that first puller right there. Right. But the problem is you also need your next over linebacker to come in and box the second puller, which would be 81. But Werner here gets caught up from the block from the offensive lineman that's able to climb to the second level. And so 81 is really able to bypass him and get down to a safety here and block for him. And then the running back just does the rest. So if you watch Pete Werner here, see, we got Kool-Aid coming in for the box. Werner tries, but he gets caught up. So that leaves pretty much nobody, right? And in a perfect world, you would get Kool-Aid boxing this thing like he does on the first puller, right there. Werner would come, cross the face of 81 and box it, and then this running back would have to be funneled towards the inside where they would have more help. The Saints would have more help to sort of stuff this run, but it didn't happen, right? And also Demario Davis on the backside ends up shooting his gap when really he probably should be the one that would be fast flow to the ball here once you see these pullers and able to clean up after we get the box from Kool-Aid and the box from Pete Werner, but it doesn't happen. And this is what you get, 3rd and 2, right? But I mean, what I was talking about when I first started here in this clip is, look at this gap right here. I mean, this running back could have cut this thing up for an even more amount of yards because there's nobody in this gap. Because when we get this pre-snap motion of this tight end that ends up, kicking out the edge here, nobody bumps over, right? I don't know if we need to get a defensive lineman to bump over, if we need to get DeMario to bump over. I don't know. But I know for sure there's not supposed to be a gap that wide in the middle there. But either way, it still works out for the Bears because we get beat here at the linebacker position. We cannot let this double team work up to us if we're Pete Werner. We have to beat that. We got to box this out on the second puller, and then we got to clean it up from the inside. But they pick up the first. And then this is on the very next play. It actually ends up being a touchdown run here. And this is why I'm a fan of using a fullback, or at least somebody as a fullback, because it can create an extra gap in the run game. You line up in the I formation, they're just going to run wide zone to the right, but the running back is able to cut this thing off from the backside because of the defense over pursuing and what having a fullback in the game does. So when you have a fullback in the game and he's going to be leading you, it just creates an extra gap. So if you watch Demario Davis, he's going to have to follow this fullback and follow that gap, right? And when he does that, that's going to bring Justin Reed over, who then has to play more inside as well, right? So when we have Demario flowing to the fullback here to this gap, well, we have to have Justin Reed sort of two-way this thing, right? Like he has to watch this gap that Demario is leaving, but then there's also the backside here to worry about, right? So when we pursue this way, the running back can read this thing. Okay, we got everybody flowing this way. Let me stick my foot in the ground and go, right? And Chase Young isn't there. Justin Reed had to flow inside. He isn't there. And we have Alontae Taylor, who probably should have filled better here in the run game, but he sees Colston or Loveland. Is that who that is right there? Right. And he probably, is worried about the bootleg off of this or something. So he has to stay home. And then when you put all those factors together, you have a touchdown run. Next one here, Bears. Again, another nice run. right? This time they're going to run one back power. It's going to be, you know, we're going to get down blocks across the board. Down block here. We're going to get the hinge here to Chase Young. We're going to get a double here, or at least sort of a double here. It's supposed to be to DeMario. We got the tight end here kicking out the defensive end. And then we're going to have the guard pulling around for what's supposed to be Pete Werner, right? And this gets jumbled up. Granderson, he's going to attack the outside shoulder here of the tight end, right? So again, trying to use this box technique to stop the run, right? Pete Werner, his job is going to be to, again, sort of do the same thing to that first puller, which in this case, or I guess it would technically be the second puller if you're going to count the first one here being the tight end, even though he doesn't pull, he's lined up on the line of scrimmage, but you get the point. So Pete Werner, his job would be to attack this outside shoulder of the guard here, which he tries to do, right? Like he's there, he's watching the guard, he sees the guard, right? His responsibility, he knows he has to get to that outside shoulder, right? To again, funnel everything back inside, so while it may look like, Werner's out of position here, he's really just doing what he's supposed to do, right? He has to find this outside shoulder of the guard, but, we also have to be able to count on our next over linebacker here, which would be DeMario, to get over here as well and be able to clean that up after Pete Werner boxes that in. And he almost gets there, right? If he just stays on the path that he initially was taking, probably would have been there to clean it up. But he tries to go back outside or go back to, our left here. And then that opens up that space for DeAndre Swift to run through. So I think as great as Demario Davis has been, maybe a little hiccup here and what he was doing. Phillips just keeps going this way, man. It's right there for him, right for the taking, but we don't do it, and we get another run up the middle for a bunch of yards. Next play here. Is this not the most New Orleans Saint thing ever to happen on defense? I mean, we have, first of all, pass rush all year has been terrible, right? But we get a play here where we get both of our edge rushers beating their tackles, yet somehow we don't get a sack and we actually run into each other. So just, watch how this thing plays out, right? Both tackles win. They win in different ways, but they end up colliding with each other. And I feel like maybe if Chase Young isn't there, Grando can maybe finish the sack. I don't know. But either way, Chase Young wins with a really good bull rush here, collapses the pocket. But Grando, this is really good stuff from Carl Granderson. That's really why I want to put this in the clip. I know it didn't turn out to be a sack, but it's still a cool play overall. So he's actually going to end up winning with the inside spin move, but he's going to rush outside first and actually fake a rip move to really get that tackle thinking that he's rushing outside before spinning this thing back inside. So watch Grando with that inside arm of his fake this rip here at the snap. So look at this. He brings that arm back, brings it through, right? Fake the rip, come back inside with a spin. That's a beautiful job from Carl Granderson, but of course, a play like that is just ruined because Saints run into each other, and then Caleb Williams scrambles, and I think he ends up throwing it out of bounds or something. Yeah, so just thought I'd throw that in there. Next one here, another explosive run, and this is really a nasty design from Ben Johnson and the Bears run game. I wish Kellen Moore would steal this. So this is actually going to be a fake jet sweep to the wide receiver in motion. And the running back is also going to fake that way. So we get a fake jet sweep, fake run this way, but then it's going to turn into like a wind back run where the running back is actually going to cut back this way. So it's like an old-fashioned wind back run after a bunch of window dressing to go along with it, right? And in the end, you have a guy coming back across the formation there, number 84, to sort of lead block for the running back, right? And this is just an excellent design. And really, Carl Granderson looks to be the edge defender here, and he has to set this edge, a lot better than this, right? And usually when you see this type of blocking, okay, you're thinking zone with the tight end coming backside to cut off Granderson, right? Which is, it looks like that's what he's thinking. He sees the tight end coming, but no, right? It's actually going to be the running back bouncing back, winding this thing back. So if we're Carl Granderson, we got to set this edge better than this. We cannot let this tight end get on the outside of us because there's nobody else out there, right? You're the last line of defense over there on that outside, and the tight end does a nice job getting out there. Running back runs past him, and then the tight end also does a nice job of really moving on to the next defender and getting a block on him as well. And then DeAndre Swift, then does the rest and is off to the races. So this is what a good schemed up run looks like. Get the defense super confused while also being fundamentally sound on your offensive line and all your blockers here for your running back. So this is really cool play from Ben Johnson, and not the best job from the Saints defense setting the edge over there on that side to sort of force this thing back out into the middle of the field where you want it to be. But even then, I mean, everybody was pretty much blocked up, so who knows. All right, last one here that we'll look at, because by now you guys get the point. So this is fourth quarter, about 10 minutes left. Saints, it's only, I think it's like 14-23. Still have a chance in this one, but they need to stop. But unfortunately, the Bears do what they've been doing all game. They run the ball and they get a million yards on the run, right? This one is just a zone to the right, but we have the defensive line getting blown smooth off the ball, right? And these zone runs, you want to create displacement, right? Really, you want to create horizontal displacement, and that really opens up these cutback lanes for the running back. And that's exactly what happens here, right? So we take the snap here. Another one of them pre-snap motions gets the Saints to shift over a little bit, create a little bit better blocking angles for the Bears. We have double teams across the board, and we just get washed down the line of scrimmage. And really here, Chase Young had a nice game overall, but he's got to stay a little tighter here to the line of scrimmage. I don't know if he was expecting a run or a rollout here or what, but he sort of takes a really wide angle here, and it ends up just leaving this area for this running back to bloop, cut back through, right? This is not only on Chase Young here. I mean, I believe it's Godshaw here, 97. No, that might be Boyd, or yeah, maybe Boyd. He gets blown off the ball here, gets washed down the line of scrimmage, and then again the cutback lane there is wide open. We have Alontae Taylor, who probably should have filled a little better here in the B gap. That's done for, right? He sort of stays back because he's trying to honor his pass again, his pass responsibility again, in case it is a rollout or something like that. And again, that wide angle by Chase Young, everybody getting blown off the ball up front. It just creates this super, super big lane for the running back to run through. And that's really all there is to it at this point. Saints got ran all over. Got to get it fixed. I don't know. Like I said, they've been decent in the run game all year, but this game, it just was nasty. It was ugly, and definitely contributed to their loss. So appreciate you guys watching. Peace.